questions faced Urban Meyer during his news conference today that I thought were very interesting. One we hit on, and that was the motivation factor of the college football playoff, basically being out of sight in a Big Ten championship. What does that mean if it doesn't mean the playoff? And how do you keep these guys motivated when you play at a school where the national championship is it? And then it's the hopes are dashed. How do you deal with that? And then the other one kind of ties into it. You've got a bit of an NFL factory here. You bring kids on campus. They know that if they perform at Ohio State, that Urban Meyer has a track record of just churning out high draft picks, and sometimes high draft picks, oftentimes before they even complete their eligibility. So there's a lot of situations like that. And how do you, when the circumstances get to a point where you can't play for a championship, I would think it's even difficult to sell some of these kids on playing for the team, period. But even if you fight that battle and win that battle when there's a prize to play for, but once that's taken away, that thought of agents and NFL prospectus and trying to protect myself from injury, and that was kind of the vibe of the question. Now, Urban Meyer, he doesn't like to address those things.
No, he does
but
not.
he didn't discount them. He acknowledged it. But he's never going to tell you how he deals with it. He just says, we monitor that, we watch out for that. Yes, we know it's real. Yes, we know it's a concern. And the thought that maybe he brings in too much talent. This is a bit ridiculous, but I do understand the thought process. Too much talent that has that type of ability to leave the program early and move on, versus bringing in guys like Michigan State has that are going to stay for 4 years. Even if they're going to gain a spot on an NFL roster, most likely they're not leaving after 3 years. And you've got a more cohesive unit that even for those guys that have an NFL chance, they really have to fight for it and play through their eligibility.
And I think it's a delicate balance. I can't imagine having to use that as a recruiting tool, and that it also is used against you when it's time for those to go to the NFL. And he mentioned it, like you said, in the press conference today. He said, when you come to Ohio State, you have a reasonable expectation that you are going to go on to the next level and play in the NFL. And the proof is there. The proof is there that is something to be assumed. But what Urban has to do is to get every single one of these players, no matter how long they're staying, to buy into the system, to drink the Kool-Aid. And he talks about different, Marcus Baugh is an example of someone that he talks about that didn't really buy into the system, that was undisciplined or was having off the field issues or not getting his schoolwork done like he should, or just not being a Buckeye. And he's somebody that turned it around, and his performance is showing in that. And he's somebody that's now turned to now be a leader on the team. So I think what Urban has to do is incentivize these guys and put real measurable results into buying into this team, buying into the system. And no matter if you're going to stay for 2 or 5, this is how it works. And I think that is part of the impetus behind Urban starting everyone on special teams before they get a chance to start. And I'm sure that there's a very good reason behind that as far as player development, but I think also it kind of kicks the can down the road as far as eligibility is concerned.
Ohio State, Michigan State, it's for the lead in the Big Ten Eastern Division, whatever that means to you. It's still for a spot, ultimately, if the winner of the game runs the table for the Big Ten championship game in Indianapolis against possibly an undefeated Wisconsin team that has its own issues because they had 2 of their best playmakers hurt on Saturday, and they've got Iowa, that team. They've got Iowa coming up this week, and then they've got a date against Michigan. So the Badgers season becomes more difficult in the next couple of weeks for themselves. All right, Claire Crawford from theozone.net. You got to join her there for her podcast with Joe Dexter. It's called Oh, Hail No. And they talk Buckeye football each and every week. Claire, we appreciate the conversation as always. It's a fun time.
It's always fun. Even when my heart is broken, it's always fun talking college football with you.
Well, hopefully we lifted it just a shade.
A little bit.
Just a bit. That's tough to do. I know. All right, Claire, have a good one.
You too.